Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. It is our annual CES editions.
Every day.
Every day. Every day. Yeah. So a couple of things. One, we are in Las Vegas at CES. The video is going to be very different. There's probably some flickering that's happening. You might hear some fan noise from a laptop that's kind of powering all of this, and that can be we can't fix it. We're using a GoPro for the video because of a cabling miscommunication, and the low light performance is probably not great. And we didn't bring any spotlights with us, so this is what you're going to get. But you're really here for the insight that we bring to the table.
You don't need light for insight.
Yeah. What?
Never mind.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and just see. And also, yeah, we're using Twitch for this rather than our regular custom servers just because it's a secondary. We can only stream to one thing, and they do backup for us and all that other kind of stuff. So we'll be doing this every night while we're here. So that would be Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night still. Today is Sunday.
Wednesday night or no?
Yeah, we'll do Wednesday night.
Okay.
It'll be more like Wednesday evening, perhaps. But
yes.
But we'll do Wednesday. It's the first day, so it's a little bit slower than normal.
I don't know. I just got done posting like the fourth thing from Storage Vision.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about what did we do yesterday? Did we do anything we talked about yesterday?
We saw Lenovo, which we can talk about now.
We did see Lenovo. So we saw Lenovo, and as you would expect, they have laptops. They have all-in-one PCs.
They have table PCs.
That's an all-in-one PC, I guess.
They have some kind of storage thing.
Yeah. What was that storage thing that they had?
The Lenovo thing, that was the... Oh, what's the name of that thing?
Hold on. I have a news post here. Was it called the Lenovo Beacon?
Yes, the Beacon. So it's a... it's actually kind of cool. It holds 2 hard drives, one on either side of the little... It's kind of like a butterfly-looking chassis thing.
Yeah, it's a weird-looking thing.
And it has... So it acts like a NAS... in that respect, like network attached kind of storage.
NAS.
Yeah, NAS.
You said it acts like an ass.
No, NAS.
You're just inappropriate all the time.
Sorry.
Yeah, I am.
I'll correct my enunciation accordingly. That's funny. And it has other ports out the back, like HDMI. I believe it's no, it might be DisplayPort.
I don't know.
No, it's HDMI. Sorry. And so it's meant to be directly connected to a TV, which it can drive. It has software running on it, like a sort of like yeah, it's Xbox Media Center. But what was the CPU in that guy?
Was it like an Adams, an ARM?
Yeah, I think
these are like the only options.
Yeah, but just more than enough power to stream video off of the storage, so it can sort of act like a front end for all the video that's sitting on it, and just play it on the TV that happens to be sitting next to it.
That could be interesting, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird,
Is that something you would really want to do, though?
Would you ever put
your
NAS next to your TV?
If I was going to, if you were going to put it next to your TV, then that makes sense. But if not, then you'd probably go with something else.
All right. Lenovo also had, let's see, they had the
monitors.
They had monitors. They had a 4K. They had a 28-inch 4K panel, but they didn't really know if it was going to be a 60 hertz panel or 30 hertz panel, and that very much aggravated me.
A small amount.
Because I kept asking, and I made it very easy. It's like, is this an MST display? Like, well, what's MST? It's like, well, you're making a monitor that's 4K, so you should probably know what multi-stream transport is. It's this thing that allows you to get 60 hertz out of it until HDMI 2.0 comes around.
You should sell them that information.
I should. Or they could read it for free on this great website. I know.
No, you should tell them.
Sell it to them. And so it's hard. And they said it was going to be what? $799?
$899.
$899?
No, I thought it was $799.
$799. It's going to be like $800 for a 4K monitor, right?
Which they did claim will do 60 hertz. We don't know how.
They claim it will do 60 hertz when it comes out, which will be I don't know what they said. February?
Like March.
No, March. Yeah. Maybe they said Q2. I don't know what it was, but it was before the first half of the year. But until I actually know if it is a 60 hertz panel, I refuse to get excited about it. Like, well, see, the price makes me lean towards that it's not.
Yeah, but
that's a dramatic price drop
Dell
from
announced that
3,500.
one, that 24 or 28 inch. It's supposed to be around that same price range.
But it's a bad idea to release anything that looks like a display as opposed to a television that won't go 60.
Yeah.
That's just a bad idea.
I agree.
And that looked very much like more of a display than a television.
They had a second 4K display that also had an integrated
Tegra.
Yep.
Tegra.
Or no.
New Tegra.
They just said next generation.
They said next generation Tegra, so it's maybe K1, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
What's Tegra K1?
Well, I said we'll talk about it in a second.
Yeah, we're not there
I'm
yet.
excited.
So it's like a 4K display that had inputs, right? It was like $1,000 instead, or $1,100.
Yeah. But it also had the Tegra.
It had the Tegra thing, so you could
switch
disconnect. You could take your laptop away. Like if you had it on your desk and you had your laptop there, you could connect it. You could use it as a monitor. But then if you took the laptop away, mom went out of town, kid could still play Android games if you wanted to.
And along those lines, it was touchscreen.
Yeah, it was.
So it was 4K,
That's correct.
huge touchscreen panel. Angry Birds looked amazing. It really did.
Yeah, I guess. Good for Angry
Probably
Birds.
sit there all day and just play Angry Birds on a very expensive toy.
Because the resolution is why I don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no other reason. I don't play Angry Birds all day besides that's not in 4K.
Yep.
What else do they have? So they also had the new ThinkPad X1 Carbon, which is an updated version of a really good Ultrabook, in my opinion. This one adds Haswell, so we'll have much better battery life. I think they said it went from 5 hours to 9 hours. In the
and it's a slightly larger battery as well. They reorganized some of the internals.
Very slightly, yeah. And it had this weird electroluminescent band across the top. So where you'd normally have your escape through function keys, it was
like a glass.
It was like an LCD that had multiple layers of opaqueness that it would hide. So it was an electroluminescence thing, and it was cool, but I'm not sure I like it. I don't know. Like you had to hit a button to switch between like functions or like the function keys. You could either have the function keys, or you could have volume control and brightness control and web control.
Yeah.
Or you could have brightness, volume, and
VoIP control.
Or something else, right? And it changes dynamically based on the application you're running, or you can change it manually. Either way, I'm not sold on that. Everything else I like about it: better performance, better battery life.
I order it with
it's
regular
thinner.
keys?
Yeah, it's thinner, it's lighter. Everything else about it was great, and it's actually available now.
No,
I
don't think so.
I don't think that one was available now.
Yeah, I think soon though.
Yeah, I think
soon.
That tablet is available now.
I was pretty sure that the ThinkPad. I think the ThinkPad X1, that was the big deal. He's like, you can order it today.
Oh,
maybe you can order it tomorrow.
Yeah,
because CES Unveiled was today, and that's when they showed it all off.
Sure, why not?
So
I don't know. You may or may not be able to order it.
They also had the ThinkPad 8, which is a Bay Trail-based tablet.
Yep.
We did a video on that. That was pretty cool
looking.
looking.
A very thin Windows 8.
We've got one of those in the office already. We just hadn't had a chance to do anything yet with it before we left for CES.
That looked that's looked nice enough to buy for me. For me to get one.
Somebody says the Twitch stream is gone, but we'll see.
Does that mean we're not recording at all?
No,
we're recording.
Okay.
It doesn't.
We'll
let me try to restart it. Just keep going.
Yeah. And so I think that was all of Lenovo.
Yeah, they had a couple. We didn't talk about the table PC.
Oh yeah, so they updated the Horizon. It's now the Horizon 2. As the name would imply. And it's thinner. It's also lighter. It has better hardware in it. And it has I guess its cool new feature was the ability to, if you have an Android phone, you start their Lenovo app on it, you set it down on the screen, it uses a really cool trick to figure out where your phone is, and it uses Wi-Fi access to get to all of your pictures and video and all that kind of stuff, and so you can share it across the screen. You really need to go see the video to see what I'm talking about, because it's much cooler in demonstration than it is trying to describe.
You remember the original Surface demo videos where they do things like that? They put a cell phone down and
it was actually doing that.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. So that was Lenovo. We did that yesterday, and today we had Josh and I had some AMD meetings that we'll have to wait to talk about a little bit later. Alan and Ken went to Storage Visions. What was interesting there?
Let's see. Samsung was reminding everybody, I guess is a good way to put it, that there are firmware updates and a new version of their Magician software and hardware level encryption on I think all the 840 Pro and Evo series drives. So it's enabled through firmware update, but apparently the hardware was already on the controller to do the hardware level encryption stuff. So it's zero performance impact if you enable it. You just have to have the right firmware, newest firmware to support it.
Okay.
So that was kind of cool. We saw now I gotta remember which the proper name was of that SanDisk. SanDisk
Connect.
Yeah, Connect.
Wireless flash drive.
Yep, wireless flash drive. So they previously had a wireless media drive, which was like this little hockey puck looking thing that you could plug like an SD card into and it would share it out over Wi-Fi. Now they have something that looks just like a regular flash drive, same kind of form factor. I mean, just really tiny. It's not even like an oversized flash drive, really. And it's like 16, 32, 64 gig flash drive.
Yeah.
And, regular USB port on the end, you plug it in, you put your files on it or whatever. But then with it disconnected from the PC, it has apparently a battery in it. And you just hit a button on the thing, and it turns on a Wi-Fi hotspot.
How big is it?
It's like regular flash drive size. Like you're talking not
wow.
big, right? Just regular,
Huh.
I was kind of shocked that it's supposed to last like 3 to 4 hours. And they said 3 to 4 hours specifically doing 3 simultaneous video streams from that to 3 independent people over the Wi-Fi. And it'll last for 3 hours.
Okay.
So pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's just you can access it basically however. It doesn't matter if it's not plugged into the PC, which is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I don't know what the pricing is going to be on it because it's not out yet, like for sure, but might be a little pricey considering they're kind of jamming a lot of tech into a pretty small thing.
Sure.
But it definitely looked doable. They're already sampling it to press, so we're going to get one look at it and stuff like that.
Okay.
Not shipping in volume yet, but it's close. So that was cool. And then there was a new device along the lines of the transporter stuff. That's the connected devices guys that make a little transporter that acts like Dropbox, but you're the one that has the cloud storage. You keep it like at your house and plug it into your router.
All right.
I guess there was a lot of demand since the transporter only holds 2.5-inch drives.
Right.
So you're kind of limited. So some people didn't want that, obviously. So there was demand for a version of that without the drive cage. So now there's a little, like, sort of as if you chopped the hard drive section off of the transporter. It's just basically the base. It's only like 1.5 inches thick. And it just has gigabit Ethernet and USB. So you plug in whatever external USB hard drive you want to do, up to 4 terabyte.
One hard drive, though.
Just one. It has to be one.
Connect a RAID external box, right?
Something that showed up it has to show up as a regular USB device.
Okay.
And then it can mount it, and then it'll share it out, or it'll use it as its storage for, whatever. The same software suite will work.
All right.
The cloud.
Yeah, the cloud.
It's always the magic. Of the cloud.
And then we just posted a piece on a bunch of the M.2 stuff that we saw, which is good because last year at CES we only saw one M.2 device the entire time at the Micron booth.
And it's the last one we saw for the year.
And it was the only thing we only heard just a couple of sporadic press releases of people trying to make them throughout the year. And then finally now we saw different companies' names on a bunch of different M.2 devices, which is good because we need to get at least that far for this thing to start getting adopted.
All right.
And that is the thing that's going to bridge people into PCI Express solid-state drives because it will work for now on SATA controllers, but the port on the computer end, if it follows the M.2 spec, can also support a PCI Express connection over the same thing. So you can have the same looking device, but the SSD controller itself could be turned into a PCI Express version instead of a SATA version, and it would just go much faster.
All right. We also went to see MSI, and we can go over this really quick, and we can talk about the NVIDIA stuff tonight.
Yep.
MSI had a couple of new notebooks. They released they announced a GS70 Stealth.
A new one,
like an updated version of it. Apparently that's a notebook that's already been around. This is like a 17-inch, but thinner, lighter gaming machine.
Almost Ultrabook.
Almost Ultrabook, but they didn't want to have the hinged gigabit Ethernet port on it. So they wanted full size, and that kind of takes it outside Ultrabook spec. It's using Haswell parts. It has an undisclosed, not yet released NVIDIA discrete graphics solution in it.
Yes.
Weird.
Figure that out.
Is it K1?
No, I don't think so. It's Denver.
I still don't know what K1 is. I'm excited to hear about it.
We'll tell you about it in just a second. And they updated their GT line. They updated their GE line. Haswell, new keyboards, new keyboard software. They had this capability now where on the keyboard in the software you can make any key a macro.
Huh.
And you can have it assign a profile like when you start Battlefield 4. These keys run as these profiles. So
Cool.
if you're always over here, you can set any of these keys, whatever. So instead of just binding it in the game, you can make it, like in my case, it would just be, I'm down, need med pack. I'm down, need med pack.
You just map every button in Battlefield to Q.
Oh yeah,
Just your favorite button.
Q is my favorite button in Battlefield.
I'm a girl gamer.
I just type that over and over again. Yeah, that would work too.
ASL.
On the motherboard side, they didn't have much new on the Intel platforms. Most of that's kind of out as it is, and until we start seeing the next generation stuff towards the middle of the year. But the AMD side, they were basically prepping for Kaveri launch. They had some A88X motherboards. They had a gaming series board, which is kind of like their...
They had a micro ATX gaming series.
It was a micro ATX gaming series board, which
interesting.
support 2 PCI Express, so you could do SLI or Crossfire on it, which was kind of neat.
SLI or just Crossfire at the moment?
I don't know. I imagine just Crossfire.
Okay.
Well,
I guess I don't know.
That's not a thing anymore. I mean, AMD boards can do SLI.
They can.
Only the 990.
Really?
Yeah, the 990 FX and X were only ones
that's
licensed.
So no FM series.
No, none of the.
Okay, well then I would
none of the
assume
current FM2s.
I would assume that would be the same.
Yeah, but why would you really? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'd imagine that'd be the same. They had a mini ITX A88X board, which I think is really cool because that's like when you think of what Kaveri is supposed to be with its integrated graphics, performance, and stuff. That's kind of like
and a 95 watt thermal at max.
Yeah, like this sweet spot of size, right? Because in my view, yes, you'll be able to use a discrete graphics card with Kaveri. But I think most people, when they think of these APUs, it's like, well, how does this benefit me? Any of the APUs, if you look at Richland or Trinity,
if I'm going to spend X amount of money on it,
right?
Why wouldn't I?
The idea is let's get something that's integrated, right? Let's take advantage of the entirety of it. If I buy a Kaveri or a Trinity or whatever, and a Trinity, is that Richland,
Trinity Richland,
and throw in a discrete card, you're kind of losing your 50% of your die space, essentially.
Just use hybrid Crossfire, bro.
Yeah, no thanks. So, okay, if I want to do that, then I want to let's build that super tiny, low noise, low fan level Steam machine, whatever, home theater box, gaming box that you don't need any discrete cards for. And that would be really cool. And then they also had MSI had a motherboard called the FM11, is that right?
AM11.
AM11 that had a socketed Kabini platform. It was a socketed Kabini platform.
Why?
Which is not even out yet that I know of. And I think MSI said that would be coming later in the year. Socketed versions of Kabini.
Weird. Yeah, I'd never heard of that socket, but obviously
somebody has.
Somebody has, and they're producing plastic. That you can make the socket out of, and attach them in.
Somebody's making it. It's interesting. Because it uses so little power, but now you've got this socketed part. You have to attach a heatsink to it now, right?
It would be pretty low profile and
when you have
passive.
To have some kind of heatsink on it. It can be passive, but it's got to be a heatsink on it. So now you got to have like a mounting mechanism. It sounds like you're getting pretty complicated for the.
There's no mounting mechanism.
It also had a PCI Express slot. This motherboard did, which is odd.
Well, I'm
going to put a 290X with my Kabini processor and see what that does.
Well, yeah, it's other previous of the boards that have had Bobcat and later on Watsakate,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously this one is you've got 4 lanes of PCI Express that you can do to a PEG slot, but it's electrically 4x, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I'm gonna mine so many Litecoins.
So many.
Huh?
So that was what MSI had, and then I guess the big news for today, well, some of it, I guess, is what NVIDIA announced at their press conference. Last year we got Shield out of it. It was Tegra 4 and Shield.
Correct.
This year, no Shield update, no Tegra Note 7 update. They wanted to tell us all about game streaming again, and they wanted to tell us about car implementations. I'm not really interested in those. But what was interesting was the announcement of the Tegra K1, which is previously known as Logan, previously known as Tegra 5. Tegra K1 is their next generation Tegra SoC, and it's called K1. The K stands for Kepler. This is the first time where now the Tegra part is running off the same architecture as the modern discrete graphics part. So it's got 192 CUDA cores in it.
Correct.
They're going to make 2 versions of it. One of the SoCs will have the same quad core +1 A15 design.
Yeah.
And the second one, as a surprise, is...
Well, I was about to say something else, but I then remembered that was under NDA.
Don't say that yet.
Exactly.
See, this is why I'm here. I'm keeping everybody in control. They announced that there will be a version of the Tegra K1 that has 2 Denver cores.
What's Denver?
What is Denver?
City in Colorado.
We originally heard about Denver when they released Tegra 2 many, many years ago. 4 years ago?
It was CES 2011. I looked it up.
Project Denver's first announcement.
So it was 3 years ago. Okay. Really? I thought it was Tegra 2.
2011.
2011?
Well, that would have been
Soda.
Tegra 3. I don't know.
Anyway. So they announced that they would be developing their own core for the 64-bit ARM. And we hadn't heard about this for quite some time.
Long time.
Yeah, they had been, utilizing the designs from ARM and not doing anything on their own. And everybody was expecting a 2015 launch for probably Denver. Well, surprise.
Honestly, I was expecting it to just fade away.
And nobody ever heard anything.
It was Tegra 2, and it was January 2011. So we were both right. Staring at it right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's right, because it was Tegra 2, Tegra 3, Tegra 4. So they've had a yearly K1 refresh. So yeah, it exists. They just recently got it back from the labs. They are running it and had software on it, and they did some very simple things with it, like swiping the screen. And
they ran CPU-Z?
Yes, they did.
Yeah?
It was an unknown processor.
So here's the comparison. If you go to the story, so I posted 2 things. One, we posted a really short news story about the announcements. We're going to have a more in-depth article tomorrow morning, later this morning, whatever it is, about Tegra K1. So Denver is a 64-bit. It's a custom chip, custom processor core, in the same vein as what Qualcomm has done with Snapdragon.
Yes.
So they just license the
their
ISA.
crate. Yeah, their crate processed SoCs were built and designed by
what Apple does.
So in other words,
series.
Yeah. So NVIDIA is going into a much more interesting territory with this. They're not taking off-the-shelf parts with slight modifications like the majority of ARM's partners do.
They license the ISA.
Yeah, and it's a 64-bit part. It's a 7-way superscaler.
I'm not entirely sure
what that means.
That makes it a very wide processor. Is it... If I'm thinking of the superscalar capability of an Intel part, it's 5-way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what that means yet. That's all the detail they gave us. Is it 64-bit? We know that. It's the ARM V8 architecture, 7-way superscaler, up to 2.5 gigahertz, and then it has a 128K and 64K L1 cache. One of those is instruction, one of those is data.
Yeah, and you compare that to the A15, which is 3232.
Yeah.
It's a significant
So the Denver cores are running faster. There's 2 instead of 4. But if the die shots are to be believed at all, the Denver cores are significantly larger than
And that would make
the
sense.
A15s. Yeah,
because they're focusing on IPC, single thread IPC,
right.
64-bit, because this is going to be kind of what separates them from the pack. At least they hope.
I like that it's noticing that these are pin compatible. They say between the 2 iterations, the A15s and the Denver version.
So, do we think NVIDIA will beat Qualcomm and Samsung to RMV8 in the shipping product?
In a shipping product?
Yeah. It's all about the shipping product. They've all announced
Well, they
RMV8.
just got first silicon back that was working.
Yeah.
So we're looking.
We haven't seen working silicon from Qualcomm yet.
Well, they don't usually show that out.
I'm just like speculation. Do you think that
I mean, it's a minimum of 6 months before we hear really anything.
I think, I guess I'm not really worried about who's out there first.
Well,
I would guess.
I would
guess NVIDIA might be out there first because they have the capability to like put out a Shield 2 and say it has Denver in it, right? And they could do that pretty quickly as long as it's on there. I'm much more interested to know how do these 2 things perform compared to each other now. How does it perform compared to because they didn't give us any performance metrics on Denver, right? All the performance metrics they gave us were on the Quad A15 version. Right, and actually, I think all the performance metrics they gave us were GPU based.
Yeah,
not a single CPU benchmark actually.
Yeah, there'll probably be some more of that tomorrow. So I mean, it's really interesting. It's not as earth shattering from like a product standpoint, from like a consumer standpoint, because it's not, hey, you're going to be able to buy this gaming handheld and it's going to do game streaming. Like that was like a cool consumer based product. This is like, technology. They need to find partners to use it. Tegra 4 was a great SoC, is a great SoC in terms of performance, but they have the Shield, they have the Tegra Note 7, they have an Asus tablet that uses
HP tablet.
There's a couple of there's an HP tablet, but it really never really caught on. It's never found like the Tegra 3 had the Nexus 7.
Yeah, but that's still
the first Nexus 7, right? But that was a huge win for them.
And Surface RT.
That was a big win for them too. They didn't know how much the operating system was going to flop, but
well,
you do what you can. They never really got that with Tegra 4. And they need something like that with K1 to make it
so
successful.
Having all this GPU horsepower is nice, but is anyone going to use it?
Interesting you should say that, because if you look at mobile graphics today in, let's say, the tablet form or even on Shield, right? You're limited to OpenGL ES, which is like a low power subset of OpenGL. Because the GPU cores in K1 are based on Kepler, you have a lot more functionality that you didn't have before. You can support GPU. You can support just like tessellation. You can support all these features that you could get on a desktop GPU you can't get. And what it can do now is it can support full OpenGL. So they announced at this press conference that Epic had ported, or my guess is NVIDIA and Epic had ported Unreal Engine 4 to the K1.
Yeah.
So they showed 2 or 3 demos working on Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah. Even if they get a major design win, like a Nexus device or something, are people really going to put that development energy into building for K1?
Well, see, you mean like games?
Yeah.
So the idea is, so AMD likes to lean on the fact that our GPUs are going to be good because the consoles use that.
But that hasn't helped them so far in Tegra.
Well, they hadn't had OpenGL support until now.
Yeah.
So now any game that is, in theory, any game that was developed for the PlayStation 3 or the PlayStation 4 is developed using OpenGL.
Yeah.
Those engines, those games could be ported to a K1 device.
Yes, they could be. That's a lot of port, and
it's not that the deal is it's not a lot of work.
That's what NVIDIA is telling us.
That they're trying to make it.
Well,
so
they're not going to say this is a lot of work.
Yeah, I've seen some of the tools that they're using, and their goal is to make it not a lot of work. And you have this huge library of previous generation console games that if you can take into a mobile Shield 2 type device,
maybe I just
would be great. And think about, so the idea is you can take, on the high end, you've got GeForce and Radeon for the PC. Game developers target that. Maybe they're using SteamOS, maybe they're not, but they can use OpenGL there. They don't necessarily have to. They can use OpenGL DirectX. Then they take that game to the consoles. And most of these games are going to be on both consoles. So you're going to have DirectX version and an OpenGL version. Mm-hmm. And then you take that down another step. So it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of it as, you got this level of detail like a tessellation algorithm, where the most detail here, decrease it. You don't have to change much, take it to the consoles. Now, how much you have to change it to take it down to something like the K1 that has a PC GPU architecture. It's not a PC architecture, but it's a PC GPU architecture now.
It just seems like a lot of jumps of faith to me that we're going to see.
Yeah, I mean, we have to have developers to want to do it, right? I don't know if we will. I
just don't think NVIDIA has that much clout over the mobile development market. Look at the Tegra.
No, but they have a lot of money that they're willing to spend in the developer market. Their developer relations is better than everybody's.
Well, that's not saying a whole lot.
Well, it is, right? I mean, because
Intel's improving, AMD is,
but they're not there, right? So it's
but Intel doesn't try. AMD's trying, but they just don't have as much money to pour into it.
It's not as simple as NVIDIA would like us to believe, but I don't think it's as difficult as it makes Android ports of games or development of games dramatically better, potentially, when you have access to these different layers. But again, is, you're talking about developers that are developing for a market that doesn't exist yet, because none of these products are available.
Yeah.
That will also take time. And it's not, I don't think we'll see full OpenGL support in other mobile SoCs.
It just bothers me that, like, the demos they should have showed, I don't know, a downport of something. Whereas, like, they showed Trine 2, but it was a mobile game. It wasn't Trine 2. It was a mobile version of the game that they're making.
I thought that was just Trine 2.
No.
I thought the
Trine 2 is not a side-scroller. It's a 3D platformer.
Next generation Mali 700 series supported DX11 as well as OpenGL 4.0.
Okay, so that's good. Yeah.
Maybe it does. I mean, that'll help. And then NVIDIA's advantage would be its experience with OpenGL.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. We'll see. So that's K1. Like I said, there'll be more details on it throughout this week. If you check back on the website, we'll have another story on it and some more details. Perhaps about game support, perhaps about developer support, perhaps about specifications and performance and power levels and that kind of thing. It's still a big question mark for NVIDIA. They need to prove to people that it's going to actually withstand the pressure of the competition and actually make a good part. By the way, people in the chat room are saying Trine is definitely a side scroller. It is not a 3D platformer.
All right, it's late.
It's 2.5D.
It's true, they did use that.
It's term. Late. I'm pretty sure I heard mobile specific new game in there somewhere. I could be wrong.
You also went to the Bongzilla party, so
I've been workshopping in my head a Bongzilla and Denver joke. It just hasn't come together.
No, you should be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
We'll have to do that offline. Yeah. We'll do that.
Also, 25 by 14, 27 inch.
G-Sync G-Sync monitors.
What refresh?
They didn't say.
This is all we got.
So they Philips actually announced a new monitor. It's a 27 inch 19 by 10 panel.
Boom.
Yeah, and it's like $650.
That's too big for 1080p.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 27 inch 1080p monitors. There's a lot of them, and they sold a lot of them. So I know that's your opinion, and that's my opinion, but they sold a lot of them. But they didn't sell a lot of them for $650.
My parents, who are in their 70s, they have one and love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
big pixels are good for.
They also aren't gaming. They don't need G-Sync. I assume. I could be wrong.
No, they don't.
But they did announce. Did they say what vendor that was from?
Nope.
They just said that there is announced a
27-inch, 25 by 14 Q2. That's all we got.
27-inch, 25 by 14 Q2 G-Sync panel.
Yep. It's either Acer, AOC, Asus, BenQ, Philips, or ViewSonic.
Any of those 6 companies.
Yep.
All right. I think we'll see more of those announcements throughout the week. NVIDIA's press conference was the first press conference.
Correct. Well, yeah.
I think so. Tomorrow, what's on? Let me see. Let's a little preview of what we got going on tomorrow here. Let me bring up our calendar. Oh, Lordish. Jeez. So tomorrow we have Alan's going to go see Seagate in LaCie.
Yep.
We have an Asus press conference. There's an Intel press conference. No.
The Samsung press conference.
Samsung press conference. We'll talk about that again later, too. There's an AMD press conference.
Yes.
I imagine we'll see Kaveri launched in some fashion.
Probably.
I mean, I don't know what else they would talk about. So we'll see that. Ooh, there's a Valve press conference tomorrow.
Ooh. I wonder what they're going to talk about.
I'm going to
Half-Life 3.
Half-Life 3 confirmed, yeah.
Yeah, we're confirming it right now. Sort this.
Let's see. We're going to meet with Lucid, and then we've got the Digital Experience PepCom event, which is always pretty good. We usually can see a lot of interesting things there. So that's tomorrow's plan, and then the next days are a little bit crappier. A little bit when you got your schedule is triple wide on the day. That's not usually the best.
So we got some stuff up yesterday, didn't we?
About what?
G-Sync.
Oh yeah, your story.
Yeah.
Yes, we did talk about that.
Hey Alan, how do you like G-Sync?
Hey, it's pretty cool.
Well, that was great.
Actually, the story was more about the upgrade process.
Yeah.
And what all you have to go through and what.
It was more difficult than you expected.
It was. It was one of the few times that I would.
Is it understandable now why they would not be eager to sell this DIY kit?
No, I would say that it's definitely doable, and the instructions are very well put together. So it was kind of apprehensive. You're about to go rip apart an LCD display that has no screws. So
you gotta spudge the plastic.
You gotta spudge the thing apart, and it's kind of
I once did that by accident.
Yeah, like dropping one.
Whoops.
Probably. Yeah, it's but it does come apart fairly easily. Once you get the hang of the spudging.
Yeah.
And then once you realize that the whole thing is kind of like gaffer taped, like gaff tape.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Is there were no screws mounting that?
There's no screws, and there's
just metal tape.
Just that metal tape.
Yeah. The only screws you end up removing are to get the PCBs out of the cage, the old PCBs out, and to install the G-Sync PCB in. But then we tinkered around with, or I get to see firsthand finally what
G-Sync
looked like, because instead of just talking about it on the podcast and listening to you talk about it and go on and on about it.
Don't you just love to listen to me talk about it, though?
Well, it's just you just have to see it.
Yeah, Josh got to see it tonight.
Finally, first time.
So now that I've seen it, I can just tell all of you, you just have to see it. It's one of those. Kind
of like a depressing train of.
It is. You just cannot show video. It's like those television commercials that show the awesome, vivid colors on this new television, and you're looking on.
Or those sunglasses. Yeah. That'll bring out the great colors of your monitor.
Yeah, just look.
See, look.
Gunnar.
Yeah, I don't know.
Look at this 3D video on your 2D monitor.
But it does definitely let you get away with cranking settings up a little higher. I will say that. I noticed that, and it's sort of an Achilles heel at the same time, because there's an issue once you hit 30 hertz.
Yeah, we talked about this, and I don't think it's as big a deal.
Yeah, it as far as playability goes, it kind of like, if you're going to go that low, that's an issue, but you shouldn't be going that low.
Between 25 frames per second and 30 frames per second, you get some judder that you might not otherwise see.
Yeah.
Because
that's the only range where
the way the panel has to, once it hits 30 frames per second, the panel needs to refresh. Even if it doesn't have a new frame to actually display, it will re-display the exact same frame. Which means that if it gets a new frame done in the time of that scan out, it has to wait. And so that waiting, that maximum variance, can cause a little bit of judder. And it happens only between 25 and 30. When you get below that, it kind of goes away. When you stay above 30, it doesn't exist.
And the little bit of delay that gets introduced in that band, you probably, like, if it was any other panel, you probably wouldn't even notice. but because G-Sync makes such a huge difference on how everything is just there so fast. It gets rid of so much other latency issues all at the same time that it just kind of hits you in the face more when you do hit that range. So
yeah, it's interesting. We talked with Tom about it, and they said they've got some fixes in the works about how they can do that. Maybe lower that. It needs to be on a per panel basis though, because the reason that lower floor exists is because of panel technology and its need to refresh the screen to keep things bright and keep them from flickering with the backlights. So that's pretty neat though. It's interesting to see I like to see other people's reaction to it since I've seen it for a while. And I think the last thing we'll talk about is I did post a review of the Silverstone Raven Z mini ITX case. I don't think we talked about that on the podcast.
Correct.
Because I think I posted on January 2nd, which would be, we recorded on the 1st. So go check out this article. It's a review of a mini ITX chassis from Silverstone. It's kind of like a home theater PC stylized, like it's a lay down style. But you can still fit a full-size graphics card in it and a pretty beefy heatsink. There's a couple of issues with the case. Well, it's not really with the case. It's when you use a heatsink that big on a motherboard that small, makes it impossible to get to anything. And we found ourselves like removing the heatsink and putting it on and then forgetting something and removing it, doing it all over
again.
Actually,
I saw the other day, there's a Noctua low-profile heatsink that they say doesn't go beyond the mounting holes of the socket.
That would be ideal for this. And it just makes things easier. We got a video on it. You can see like we use that new MSI Mini ITX
gaming
Z87i, and then the Mini ITX GTX 760 graphics card too. That kind of all fits in there nice. You can use it for Steam machine or just a Windows gaming machine. It's a pretty nifty little setup. Check that out. And I think when I first wrote it, I didn't have a price, and now they say it's going to be about $100 for the case. But keeping in mind you don't get a power supply with that like you do with the EVGA Hadron, and that's a $70 purchase.
And it's a small case.
It's a small case, and it has a very specific power supply. You have to use Silverstone's SFX series of power supplies, so you're kind of restricted there. But it's a neat little device. So that rounds up, I think, the show for today. You guys have anything that we missed?
Vibrin.
I'm sorry?
Vibrin. We forgot to bring some.
Yeah. Maybe we can go to get cupcakes downstairs.
I'm gonna go to sleep like in 5 minutes.
What about a cupcake?
He's already asleep.
I'm gonna edit a podcast.
That's all right. I'll be editing everybody's work, so it's fine. Yeah. Editor-in-chief.
Yep.
Or something like that. So thanks guys for joining us. Sorry it was really late. The goal for tomorrow will be to make it earlier. But again, we don't know what time we're going to record these. So you got two options. If you follow me on Twitter, @RyanStrout, I will let you know when we are up and streaming and live if you want to watch it live. Or you can go to pcpro.com/subscribe, sign up for that mailing list. All we get is your name and your email address. We don't use it for anything else. And we send out an email right before we go live as well. And Josh reminded me to do that today. So thank him if anybody's still watching us.
Thanks.
So you can do that. So follow me there or pcpro.com/subscribe if you want to know. Otherwise, you can download it in your normal fashion at pcpro.com/podcast. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
See you.